Hi everyone, for today I'm going to discuss the first half of our lesson number 8, which is text, information, and media. Some of our discussion here will just be a recall of our previous lessons. So let's start first with the definition. Text information. Basically, this is your print media because it deals with written information. When we say appropriate to the language of the reader, always remember that before we publish a particular print media, we should acknowledge first the different target markets. And those different target markets were already covered when we discussed the types of media. And who are those target markets that we have? We have class A, B, C, D, and E. And we divided them into two, right? So we have class A and B, and these are our working class. These are the supervisors, managers, CEOs, COO, even students can be categorized as working class. And we also have the marginalized sectors such as the CDE. So there are the margin or the grassroots. So who are the creators of text information? Now, we are just going to elaborate the types of media specifically under print media. We already determined the different types of print media such as the books, the newspaper, the two types of newspaper, magazine, gazette, etc. Now, let's go into the creators of the different text information. So let's start with the author and the writer. What's the difference between the two? Actually, this will be an advanced discussion with your EAPP or English for Academic and Professional Purposes. So when we say author, it provides us academic text, primary source of information in a formal language. In the two types of a newspaper, this is what we call the broadsheet. Let me just provide the logic. Now, when you say writer, he or she provide us the non-academic text or informal language catering class C, D, E, the marginalized sectors, and the grassroots. When we say author, they provide us academic text, primary source of information in an objective, scientific manner, or technical content. When we say writer, examples of this are the opinion section in your newspaper, a particular article with regard to, let's say, the different sustainable development goals, the fictional novels that we have, such as the Da Vinci Code, The Hobbit, Harry Potter, etc. Contributor, he or she submits an article, topics that are of particular interest. We also have some senior high school students who are contributors of Rappler, Manila Bulletin, and Philippine Daily Inquirer. So they actually submit a particular topic that triggers or that can contribute to public awareness. Remember the process of media wherein there is gatekeeping, agenda setting, persuasion, and then public opinion. So whenever they see that this is important not only to those individual or groups in Naga City, they also submit that particular topic to the regional sector. He or she can be a full-time, part-time, or freelance contributor. Columnist writes his opinion, insights, and commentaries about political or social issues expected to follow code of ethics. Why? Because as we previously discussed, we have what we call libel. For you to avoid libelous articles, we need to provide our objective perspective. Ma'am, it is stated here that the writer provide his or her opinion. His or her opinion based on a factual data, wherein you have there the inverted triangle and then chop it into two. You have there the lead or the headline, the body, providing us the 5 W's and 1 H. What are those 5 W's? What, when, where, who, why, and the how. All of this provide us his or her opinion according or with accordance to that particular credible information. It is very important for us to also value code of ethics because code of ethics is not only pertaining to libel, we also have contempt to court. Remember, we are not allowed to quote anyone, especially if the case is not yet final or there's no final order or final judgment because that will be a violation. Next, we also have blogger. So way back years ago, we have bloggers, but now we have vlogger, right? A blogger, they write or publish a particular article. When you say vlogger, they provide us the audio visual effects. So the blogger actually started, majority of them start with photojournalism, and then they expound it. They blog about a particular culture, a particular place to promote the tourism or the people or the indigenous sectors. Data encoder. When you say data encoder, basically they just function as your administrative staff. Okay, they encode verbatim what is written there. For example, whenever we look for a particular summer job, diba? We go to City Hall or prosecutor's office, and then we're going to sign the waiver form for confidentiality, and we're just going to encode basically everything that is written in the hard copy. We can use Microsoft Word, Google Documents, etc. When you say layout or graphic artist, they actually convert the story into visual. Their supervisor is what we call art director. For example, you are creating your own coffee table. Of course, if you stipulate there that the luxury of blah blah blah, you don't provide there a visual that contradict the word luxury, etc. So technically speaking, in a production, they provide you the visual of those written texts. Editor in text and information is different from the editor in visual information. When you say editor in text information, this is your EIC or editor-in-chief. He or she proofread first the article before publication because again, for us to avoid a libel case, an editor for visual is different. He or she edits the audio, the musical score, etc. Publisher, he or she finances the cost of publication. For publisher, we have that under text information. Parallel to the publisher, under visual information, we have the producer. And the producer also finances the cost, not of the publication, but of the production. Genre of text information. We also have different genre of text and information. Number one, we have here comedy. So technically speaking, it is light and funny. Is there any one of you know Pugad Baboy by Paul Medina Jr.? The content of this is very sarcastic. It's very light, but at some point, it is also smart enough to provide or to actually tackle a political or social concern. Another is tragedy or drama. Remember your No Alimitang Here, El Filibusterismo, and Mi Ultimo Adios. The content can make people cry. Involves death, pain, and suffering. Third, we also have suspense or thriller. Allows you to solve mystery. So we have here the books of John Grisham way back 20 years ago, from a book to a motion picture. We also have here Da Vinci Code, also from a book to a motion picture. Next, horror, overwhelming fear, and leave the reader terrified. One good example of this is The Goosebumps by Robert Lawrence Stein. These are the examples of his books. And if you watch actually the film, they sum it up into one particular motion picture. All the monsters in his book is already summed up in this particular film. Fifth, romance deals with romantic love. Example of this is your Romeo and Juliet, where in fact we already have three different transitions of Romeo and Juliet. 1940s, somewhere in 1940s, 1980s, and then the latest was the film of Leonardo DiCaprio. On top of this, we also have Nicholas Sparks, The Notebook, and a lot of novels of Nicholas Sparks. Science fiction based on imaginative use of scientific knowledge. Victor Frankenstein, Star Wars, if you're familiar with that. So we also have Hunger Games, The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. We also have World War Z. Majority of these novels were actually converted into a motion picture. Another genre of text information is your historical book, elements about historical artifacts or historical accounts. So from social sciences to Araling Panlipunan, you have there the history of the Filipino people. We also have a book about people power too, etc. Another is autobiography, biography, and memoir. When we say autobiography, the person itself actually write his or her own story. It is subjective. Now, when you say biography, a third party actually write for the main subject itself. So, it should be technical manner. So we have the autobiography of Miriam Defensor Santiago entitled Inventing Myself. Examples of biography are the biography of Jose Rizal, Dr. Jose Rizal, and Stephen Hawking, if you are familiar with Theory of Everything film. So that's it for the first half of our lesson number 8. I'll see you in our next synchronous discussion to discuss visual information and media. Bye!